What industry did you pursue a career in?
I build jail cells.
Working very hard.
Yeah.
And music.
What has been the most amount of money that you ever made in a single year?
So the most money I personally made in a single year, I think I did $3.5 million.
Somewhere between 500,000 and 600,000.
What's the greatest lesson that you've learned throughout your career?
Don't be afraid. Take the plunge. You'll always come up ahead if you take the risk.
There's an old adage, we don't trip over mountains, we trip over molehills. So it's the little things that make the big difference.
You have to find your strong points.
Number 1.
What was the most amount of money you ever made in a single year?
1.8.
What industry did you pursue a career in?
I build jail cells.
What is the blueprint that it takes to become a millionaire in today's world?
I always was interested in a niche industry, which I am certainly in, because in New England, there's nobody else that does what I do. So find a niche, work hard, get the right people. I don't see how you could not be successful. When you see an opportunity, take advantage of it. If it's not working out, get out fast, or pursue it right to the end. And I've done that multiple times, and it's worked out pretty well. And I've also I went in one direction, I added a component to my company. It didn't work out, cut ties, gone. You lose a little money, but in the long run, you lose a lot less than if you stay with it.
Number 2.
In 60 seconds, how can someone become a millionaire in today's world? What's the secret to becoming wealthy? How did you become a millionaire?
Working very hard.
Yeah,
And music.
absolutely.
Rapping. I'm tapping to rapping. Tapping, turn to rapping.
Yes, sir. And what advice would you tell your younger self? You're going back in time, you're starting from zero. What would you tell your younger self?
Do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes, sir.
And don't take no from an answer from nobody.
Absolutely. Your best advice to any entrepreneur starting a business. It's not easy, it's competitive. How were you able to stand out, man?
Doing different shit.
Yeah. I really appreciate your time, man. That means so much to us, man. Oldest Years 2, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Number 3.
What's up, man?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Josh, man, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And what industry did you ultimately pursue a career in?
I originally started my business in social media marketing, and that's how I made my first $1 million. And then eventually, while I'm running this agency for people, I realized I didn't like talking to clients. It was a lot of work. People were mean to me, even though I was technically running my business. It was really difficult for me to swallow the fact that, like, even though I have my own business, people are still telling me what to do. So eventually I said, you know what, I'm doing this for all these other people. Let me just start my own brand. And from there, I started my e-commerce brands. I own a supplement company, and I built another big e-commerce brand.
What do you think is the significance and the importance of really building a strong brand for a company?
Well, the thing about a brand is eventually at some point, you tell someone to jump, they ask you how high. There's not even a question of why should I jump, where should I jump, why am I jumping? It's like, how high do you want me to jump? And Apple has built a brand so powerful that no matter what they can release a shoe, a t-shirt, a keychain, people will buy it. They will sell millions of them. If you take a look at headphones, AirPods, they don't make that much money off AirPods. When I say it's not that much money, it's still billions of dollars because they built a brand that is so powerful, so strong, they could release any product and people would buy it.
And what has been the most amount of money that you ever made in a single year?
Me or my businesses?
Both.
Okay, so the most money I personally made in a single year, I think I did $3.5 million in a single year for myself. The businesses that year did about $14 million.
For someone who's starting out in e-commerce today, what would be your best piece of advice for them?
You have to figure out the winning product. At the end of the day, when it comes to e-commerce, if you're gonna start from nothing, the easiest way to make money in e-commerce is not the marketing. People think it's running Facebook ads and getting good marketing. It's not that. It's always gonna be the product. Your product will sell over everything. It goes product, marketing, sales. So if your product's good, you don't need marketing. If your marketing's good, you don't need sales. But if you have all three of them, that's how you get rich. I don't have an Apple computer.
Yeah.
I have just a regular one just because my friends that like make a lot of money, they're like, you don't need a Mac, you just need this. You need the internet, like that's right. And then I see everyone with Macs. I'm like, why do you guys all have Macs? Yeah. They're like, because it's better. I was like, well, how is it better? And the guy was like, well, and he couldn't like, he was literally sitting there trying to think of reasons why it was better. And I was like, and I let him talk for like 5 minutes. I'm like, why is it better? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, you know why it's better? Because they got you with their branding.
Number 4.
What industry did you ultimately pursue a career in?
So my degree is engineering, and the industry I'm in is I build
port infrastructure equipment. So docking and mooring equipment for big port facilities. And I get to travel around the world and tell people how to basically manage issues and overcome obstacles.
What's the best piece of advice that you would tell your younger self?
So I think when we're born, you basically are given a ledger of numbers, and all those numbers are associated with decisions you get to make. And those decisions actually on the front end, so like 1 through 50, when you become like a human being and like you actually can make decisions for yourself, they compound. Meaning like if you make some really horrible decisions at a young age, they can cascade throughout your life. But as you get older, they get more valuable. So, I mean, I think decision making is probably one of the most important things that you need to consider.
What's the best advice that you ever received from a mentor?
Came from my dad. My dad's a stud too. It's being genuine, but at the same time being a chameleon. So we all have to adapt to the situations that are present. And you have to be able to adapt in a genuine way where you're not lying to anybody, but you can still fit in and you can be approachable. Most people that become successful, they either go on the narcissistic path or they go on the altruistic path. And they would rather probably help others than themselves. I try to gravitate towards not being the biggest person in the room.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. I loved your answer.
Number 5.
Yeah, Bill. How are you? James. Oh, Jack. Hey, Jack. How are you?
Hey, I'm Josh.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
In what industry did you ultimately pursue a career in?
Insurance and risk management and academic. A little bit unusual because I do have a whole career in academics and then a whole career in business.
So you're a business owner?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, we developed over the years what's called the National Alliance for Insurance Education and Research. It's like a CPA type program for people in the business, being agents, companies, adjusters, and now we have 5 different programs.
What's your best advice to anybody who's starting a business in today's world?
Show growth. You know, you have to grow, even if you're a little bit. Nobody wants to invest in a shrinking business, right? So you have to have a business that sort of inspires somebody. And keeping good people, you know, that's a big thing. Because when you hire new people and they meet other people in your organization, they say, well, I've been here 14 years, I've been here 10 years, I've been here 9 years. That has a big impact on people. Excellence is a lot of small things done well. And there's an old adage, you know, we don't trip over mountains, we trip over molehills. So it's the little things that make the big difference.
How important has it been for you surrounding yourself with the right people throughout your career?
Oh, it's crucial. People are your greatest asset and your greatest liability. Good people will build all around you, will make you better, and a few bad people will destroy your business.
What has been your secret to sales throughout your career?
So you have to be what I would call the uncommon man. Now, you don't want to be weird. Weird is not good. There's a fine line between uncommon and weird. People have to respect you first. And why should I buy anything from you? That's it.
Number 6.
What industry did you ultimately pursue a career in?
I was in the military for a few years, got out of the military, dove right into consulting and project management. But the whole time I always had something on the side. I always had some form of entrepreneurial mindset no matter what I do. So when I was in the military, I'd buy a house, at every duty station I was at. And without even realizing, I was becoming somewhat of an investor. I'd buy a house at one military base. I had to change duty stations, and I'd buy another house and I'd rent it out. And I ended up doing that until I acquired several houses. And being that they were all on military bases, there's always someone there to rent it out.
How many properties do you currently have under your portfolio
Right now I have 4, but I flipped houses in between and done things like that, and I'm getting ready to offload all of them. Right now I'm kind of cash poor, asset rich, and I want to flip that for the recession that's coming, so that I can go all in on certain things that are really gonna 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10x in the next year or so.
What was the most amount of money that you ever made in a single year?
Somewhere between 500,000 and 600,000.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
Thanks.
In your opinion, right? What is the blueprint to becoming a millionaire in today's world? So in 60 seconds.
In 60 seconds, I can't really say, but what I would say is create. If you want to be a millionaire, create. You can't just wake up and go with the flow or do whatever you normally do. You have to have a plan, live strategically. Part of that strategic plan should be to create something. Create a YouTube channel, create a product, find something that's broken and find a solution to fix it. Or recreate something that's already working well. If you see someone doing something well, try to recreate it and do it in your own format or your own way. Add your own spin and your own knowledge and twist to it. Find something that's broken and fix it. Find something that's working well and replicate it, and be strategic about both.
Number 7.
Just wrapped up some interviews down at the Riverwalk. We're here at the Westin on the Riverwalk down in San Antonio. Gonna go in real quick and see if we can snag a couple interviews inside the hotel. What was the most amount of money that you ever made in a single year?
About $1 million.
That's amazing. What's your net worth?
About 15 to 20 million.
When someone is starting to make money in their careers, where do you think people should really look to invest or put their money to try and multiply and grow the income that they do have?
Well, in real estate, I would say right now in land, they're not making any more. And the land development right now, the costs are always increasing. And you can always do something with the land. If you buy something that has what they call an agricultural use, you're not paying very much in taxes. Eventually, when you sell it and develop it, you'll get your return and your capital gains will come out of there.
What's the greatest lesson that you've learned throughout your career as a real estate developer?
Don't be afraid. Take the plunge. You'll always come up ahead if you take the risk. No matter if you fail, you'll always come ahead of yourself because you'll learn something from your failure.
Number 8.
Today, we're going to be talking about how you can break into the commercial real estate industry in today's world. We're super pumped to be here with Kevin Salmon, who's a commercial real estate broker.
I've been in the brokerage business before you guys were born. 1999, I joined a firm in New York City. Knew nothing about real estate. I had dreams of playing basketball, and I ended up in the restaurant business instead. I opened a restaurant, a vegetarian restaurant at that. At the time when I opened it, no one was ready for that stuff. I met a guy who told me about real estate. Real estate people own, other than their homes, they own these buildings. I had no idea. So I did my research, and I said, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. Jumped right into it. I was fortunate to end up in a company that had been around since 1971. They hired me with no experience, no knowledge, and they gave me a shot. I spent 10 years of my career at that firm until I left in 2009 to start my own.
What was ultimately the biggest deal that you ever closed in commercial real estate?
It took me 2 years. It was a $45 million retail property in New York City. It was called a retail condo, and it was occupied by HSBC Bank. The rental income, I think, was $2.5 million. We started at, we started at $55 million. And I didn't want to take it on at $55 million because I thought it was overpriced. I did a bigger deal. I forgot about that.
Let's do it, yeah.
Okay, it was a very interesting deal. I did not list it exclusively, but I developed a relationship with the U.S. Marshals. And it was a portfolio of apartment buildings in the Bronx. And the Marshals have a criteria. It's a closed bid process. I knew I could find a buyer for this one. Process, whoever had the highest offer, even if it was a penny more, the Marshals will choose that person. Doesn't matter the buyer's ability to close. Whoever offered more on the deal. We submitted an offer. I called a client from Brooklyn, and 2 days later, Marshals got back to me and said, you had the highest offer. One bid, $73,500,550, somewhere around that number.
Being in charge of a brokerage, what's your day-to-day like?
My day begins probably around 5:30, and I'm at the office by 6:15, the latest. And I try to get the guys in there as early as possible. I leave the office about 7:30, 8 o'clock every night. And I have weekly meetings, individual meetings, to talk about the previous week, what they did good and what they thought they did wrong. It's the same process each week, figuring out how I can help them build their business. Because I've been doing this a long time, 2 decades. So I've seen it all.
What would be your first tip to someone who's trying to break into the industry?
Brokers in this business, they're not transactional. They are relationship centric. You want to go back dealing with the same clients you've done business with before. When I started, the guy who hired me said to me, if you were to land 5 active clients, you're set. And it took me a while to do that, but that's exactly what happened. When I was told by the manager at the time who hired me, he said, there's no salary. My response to him was, I want it, because no salary means that there's no ceiling. I can make as much money as possible. What I did, I don't really suggest anyone do this, because I started at 5:30 in the morning, arriving at the office, staying till 6 p.m. Then I went to a job working at night at a restaurant. And I worked at a restaurant making, I think it was 10 or 12 bucks an hour. And I also had a job selling vehicles on weekends, selling cars. I was selling Nissans at the time. So I can't recommend someone try to hold down 3 jobs at the same time, but I did. Maybe you can do it as well. But yeah, you need financial support so you can focus on your business. And knowing that there's no salary, you're going to say to yourself, okay, there's no salary, so that means unlimited. I can make millions and millions of dollars doing this business.
So we have some pictures, some plaques up here on the wall. These are some of your kind of past commercial real estate deals that you've done. Can you just kind of break down a couple of these deals and kind of how you were able to go about them and end up closing the deals?
Sure. It goes back to August 22nd, 2001. This was my first transaction. It was in Binghamton, New York. And took me almost 2 years to do my first deal, but this one, obviously I had to frame because it took so long, process of being in commercial real estate. And having this deal to be my first deal was amazing because this was the check, $54,000 in 2001, which was pretty impressive. At the time, I was focused on selling apartment buildings in Bronx. This was my first listings, as you can see here in the beginning. And I sold all these buildings in 2001. For a couple $100,000, they're probably worth millions now. I can tell you that fees that I made on these, I was able to buy my first deal using the commission earned from these transactions.
Like, how important have relationships been to your success in real estate so far?
Relationships are the most important thing in this business. As I told a young man a week ago, I can pick up the phone today and call someone who I did business with in 2005, and they would say, "Hey Kevin, good to hear from you," because I developed a relationship that goes on for a lifetime. You always hear the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it is fact.
For someone who does kind of struggle with networking and building those lasting relationships, what advice would you tell to someone to really strengthen that aspect of their career?
You have to find your strong points. What are you strong at? My strong point, building relationships, understanding an individual. So learn more about the individual and use that to your advantage to figure out if that's something you can relate to. For example, many years ago, I met this gentleman who became my mentor. He's no longer around. His name is Julian Studley. And Mr. Studley, I tried to get to him so bad. I kept calling his office, home, response. I even sent him a letter. I sent him letters. He owned multiple buildings in the Bronx at the time. No response. And somehow I discovered that he was a poker player. I knew nothing about poker. I was able to get to his secretary, and she actually scheduled a meeting for us. When I met with him, first thing I said to him was, "So, I hear you're a poker expert, and also discovered that you were 110 out of thousands in the World Poker Tour." And he said, "Do you play poker?" I said, "No, but I would love for you to teach me." James, the next minute, he invited me to his house on a Tuesday. He said, "I play poker at my house every Tuesday night with a group of guys." He invited me over. I sat and I watched them, learned as much as I could. And the following week, he invited me over to play with him and his wife. And probably 3 weeks later, he hired me to sell $30 million in real estate.
What is the process like of trying to go and work for a commercial real estate license? What kind of education and what do you have to go through in order to make that happen?
The licensing portion of this business is the exact same. You go to the same real estate school for residential or commercial. It's a function of your ability, what you're able to stomach, because again, the process is challenging on the commercial side. And we tell everyone that. It's going to take easily 6 to 12 months before you close your first deal. You could jump into residential and close your first deal within a week because you may have a friend or cousin may want to sell or buy a place and they might use you. Not the same in commercial.
So another question I had was, a lot of people often start out in residential. They want to sell homes, maybe they get into luxury real estate. But what is that transition like of going from residential to commercial?
I don't recommend it because the process is completely different. In residential, it could take you 30 to 60 days to close a deal. From renting an apartment, selling a home. In commercial, the process is easily, from your listing to closing, is easily 120 days. So you start out in residential, unless you've accumulated a tremendous amount of dollars and you're ready to make the transition to commercial, I would recommend it. That's the only way, but I would not recommend, I've sold a couple of deals, I've sold a couple of homes, now I'm ready to go to commercial. You start out in commercial.
When we first met, one of the first things that you had told us is that commercial real estate is really one of the only industries where you can make the same as like a top athlete, a top entertainer. How much can someone really make in commercial real estate if they do it right?
It doesn't happen overnight, but within 5 years, if you're doing the business correctly, building database, building relationships, presenting proposals, becoming the expert, by year 5, you're making 7 figures.
Yeah.
Without question. For a decade, you're making probably $10 million or more.
It's incredible.
And this is true. I have it proven. I have it documented.
Yeah. What was your best year in particular that you ever did?
My year on the brokerage side was excellent, but not as good as the guys today because the technology that they have, we didn't have that. I literally had to knock on doors. We had an owner's manual we would go through to find information. Here, you could just go online and Google and find so much information about an owner. So Information is gold. We didn't have that gold laying around. So my best year, I think we did $2 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's video and learning about how you can break into the commercial real estate industry in today's world. Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Where can everybody find you?
You have an Instagram, Kevin Mark Salmon, just like the fish, and LinkedIn, Kevin Salmon.